Hello. So this is a kind of like a review, or just more so my thoughts on Dr. Strangelove, how I learned to stop worrying and love the bomb. And what it is, it's Stanley Kubrick film where he is kind of just making fun of the Cold War, during the Cold War. It released to commercial acclaim, I'm pretty sure, and I can see why. I really enjoyed the film. There's certain things I didn't like, but I personally really liked it. I thought it was just very entertaining. Like, I thought it was very comedic. Like, I wasn't laughing out loud, but I definitely very much just enjoyed it a lot. And the part that I really, really enjoyed was his view on the paradoxes that the Cold War kind of brought up, to where, like, I think the Russian ambassador talks about how there was the arms race, the space race, and then the peace race. Towards, like, that's just kind of interesting that they're like, even they're like fighting over peace type of thing. And so they made their backyard bomb, or their doomsday machine is what they call it. And I think that's just, like, it's very funny. The paradoxes and whatnot, like the pieces are profession. I really liked how that, like, the just telling of that joke in the background with Jack Ripper and group captain Mandrake. I thought that was very, very well done. And I think the pieces are profession also talks a lot about just, like, how what it's like during that time, during the Cold War, because they were underneath these governments, and they're like, I watched a video talk about to where people before, like, a leader can do some stupid things, but, like, the human world, like, humans just people just kept living, like, on, and like didn't matter that some general just, like, killed everybody on accident for some stupid thing. But now, where people, like, our leaders can do that and, like, could kill everything, kind of is an interesting, just how the paradox of almost like this standstill, to where both people, they can't pull the trigger, because if they pull the trigger, the other person is going to kill you at the same time. So but you just pointed at it. I think it's a very interesting paradox, how almost peace comes from the threat of extinction, which is very interesting and probably very difficult to deal with. Saw some things about how he was worried about it, and so he was reading a lot of books, and that's how he found the story, and he realized that he should do it for a black comedy, which I think it's very funny how similar it is, and how comparatively him going off and doing this, like, comedic take on it is very interesting to me. Also, the concept of the backyard bomb is it's a very interesting topic, because it brings up so many things, specifically right now with AI. I can go on a whole tangent, but it just, like, this existence of this force that could eliminate everything is kind of crazy, towards, like, I would not mess with it. Towards, like, if AI hacking gets really good, and then it can go in and infiltrate everything else, it almost does the same thing, towards this power can see everything, and so it almost puts everybody at a standstill, because if you start making moves, everybody will know. The paradox of how we have so much faith in people who are flawed is very funny, when they make the flawed characters, like, sexually frustrated and sexually insecure. I saw someone make point that out, and I think it's very, very funny. I was not expecting it when I was watching it. I didn't pick up on that until after, and I, like, looked into it more. They're pretty kind of on the nose with some of it. Like, Like, for example, like Buck chewing the gum is very funny, and how he, like, you know, he has his secretary back home that he wants to get back to, so he's kind of trying to like rush through it to be like, hey, we could just like get this over with right now if we wanted. And I think it's just very funny with all that, and like the relationships of the characters through that lens is also just kind of interesting, because like it's very interesting because Buck kind of represents being sexually frustrated. Like I think like his name pretty much just means like someone who's like unable to like have sex at that moment, which is like, it's very, I mean, at least I saw someone like do a breakdown of it, which I think is very funny. And him interacting with the president, who is someone who's like kind of wimpy and it's just like kind of, you know, sexually insecure. And then those two interacting with the ambassador, which I don't really know. I feel like the ambassador is probably frustrated, and it falls in the category of frustrated. But like them just like interacting, like when they're all on a conversation together, I think that's just very, very funny, because you know, Buck hates the Ruskies. The president's trying to be this nice guy, like we can do this, but he's like, for me, he almost reminds me of like the people who are trying to be nice, but then when they realize that being nice, you have to just be nice. You don't gain anything from it. It reminds me of those people, how they like think they do gain something, like they do need something in return, and so they get like upset. And the ambassador is just like this, like he's just this dude. I feel like he's just this like I don't even know. He just, to me, he gives me a the ambassador is very like up his own ass. I think it characterized very well by just him like walking across this like giant buffet of food and just asking about fresh fish. And then when the guy asks like, oh, do you want a cigar? I have one right here, like he's offering. And then he just shuts him down like, no, I do not take anything from like capitalist stooges or whatever he says. And so like I think that's just like very just like, wow, okay. Like I feel like we've all been interacted with someone who's kind of like that, where it's like, I watched someone like say like once that they will not watch like any of these like top like The Godfather or anything like that, because it's like they almost pretty much said it towards like it's so too mainstream and too common, which is like, okay, yeah, but it's because it's The Godfather. Not to be that guy, but I mean, I think it's pretty good. I did see it in two sittings, so maybe my take on it isn't as good because I had a nice break between. But I mean, I still thought it was very, very entertaining. Also, the president in Kiss Off is very, very funny because, again, it's like it very much reminds me of like Jack D. Ripper and Mandrake, on how like Kiss Off is definitely Jack and then President is definitely Mandrake, because like it's the funny part is that you can just tell that Kiss Off is just kind of like upset and whatnot, and how the president is almost he's tired of being nice at that moment, and he's just irritated because he's kind of just being very wimpy and insecure about it. And I think it's interesting having to, it's like he almost falls into the frustrated category because of that, but it's more so that he's just frustrated at his own insecurities. And so it's very interesting to have them like connect, because Kiss Off probably wants to go back to being with his lady, but is unable to because the world's about to end. And the president's trying to relate that, but Kiss Off's not really giving him much. My two favorite characters in this entire movie is definitely Jack D. Ripper and Group Captain Mandrake. That's why this drawing is of them, because I think their relationship, I feel like this is so entertaining and so funny to watch, because instead of like the president, instead of getting irritated at his own insecurity and getting kind of frustrated by his like working pretty much his own prison, Mandrake is stuck in it. I think he definitely he definitely after dealing with Jack and just pretty much just getting like pushed over the entire time, and then he had to take it into his own hands and like search for the thing. I think that definitely made it so he changed to be like no, I am secure, this is what I need, this is what I'm doing, and you're not doing this. And I'm very curious if that change is because Jack is gone or because he had to search for what Jack left. And I'm very curious to how, like, maybe the time in searching he realizes that like this guy was pretty much like kind of crazy and that he should have just been on his shit, and not back down. But it's just so funny, everything about Jack D. Ripper talking about fluoridation in the water. This goes to, again, paradoxes, almost where people exist sometimes in like their own falsifiability, to where something's can't be proven false or anything or false or true, and so they kind of exist in their own programming. This is like for example, like some people will not cross like the yellow lines in the road because for them it's hard coded that like they need to stay on that side, so they can't cross around. And I think to where almost like falsifiability, to where it's like it makes this almost programming in their head to where this thing can't be proven true or false. But so if you make it like, if you take that piece of information that can't be proven anyway, and how you branch off of that, you make your own like programming. Like Jack with the timing of when fluoridation happened and what fluoridation like kind of does, to where like it goes into your system. He sees that as a negative because of the Ruskies only drinking vodka and whatnot while everybody else drinks water. It's interesting too, like that's not like, one, that's false, that like Ruskies just drink vodka, but it's just this world, it's his programming that he like built for himself pretty much, with the Red Scare and everything, to where you see to where you almost get programmed that one lane is the people who are correct and the United States government fighting communism, while the other lane is the Ruskies who are communist and evil. No such thing as just black and white like that. Like, it's not binary. I feel like the story being filmed in black and white metaphorically helps in that regard, because it's just like, I think color would have changed it too much, but having it harsh like that helps show like how people almost saw things back then. But with the fluoridation and everything like that, you see Mandrake try to almost fight back in his own way, because he knows that he can't fight physically, so he results in trying to use words and actions. So he realizes that at first he's just kind of in denial, like, oh shit, we're screwed. Then interacting with Jack, he's like, okay, I can help work with him and I can help him do this, and I can explain that I am also a waterman, as as you could call me, and that I am trustworthy and that you should allow me to have the code and not kill the entire world. Because in my foundation, that's the correct way to do, which I also, in my foundation, I think you should not destroy the entire world. Then him like trying to work this is very interesting, because he's set in stone. He's working this falsifiability. You cannot get him out. As an outsider, you can see the absurdity of it, but when you're inside your own programming, you don't know. You don't see it. You can't see it until you're taken out of it. For him, he knows that he's going to have to answer for what he's done, but he also is content in explaining his answer to God, because he thinks that he's correct. I know I'll have to explain, but if I just talk to him, he'll understand, because this is reality to him. But he realizes that if he gives the code, everything that he just sacrificed won't go. So for him, the morality of what he has to do is he has to kill himself, because for him it's for the greater good, because the Ruskies have been attacking us by making our water unpure, which then in turn makes us unpure. I really like the concept of them being sexually frustrated like Jack. Either like, he's definitely having issues in bed. Like that's at the very least, like he's either just getting too fatigued or he can't get it up, whatever it may be. I've seen people go kind of back and forth, but no matter what, it's something like sexually that he's no longer able to do. I think like definitely sex is tied to this movie, but one thing that makes me confused is who are the people in the plane? Maybe I could just be stupid, and maybe the people in the plane are something that they fit in a category. I think if I were to put them in a category, I feel like they would be the sexually secure. Like they're not insecure, they're not frustrated, they are accepting it. And I think that's why, what's his name? Whoever the cowboy guy is, like that's why he like rides the bomb, because it's the biggest. It's the biggest, and so he's very confident in himself, and I think that could be interesting. But I don't really love that answer. Maybe I just didn't see enough, but I feel like I'm not too inclined. Like I could also see them being frustrated because they're just stuck up in this plane. The only thing that they got is Playboy magazines. Like their entire, like they, from their point of view, what they got. Okay. This goes back to the paradox, to where I thought this was interesting. Someone pointed out that like they almost also exist in their own paradox, where if the world that they knew just got destroyed, they won't have a place to go back to for metals. But I mean, like maybe they will, but like they probably won't have a footnote or anything like that because their world is just destroyed. And I think that's interesting with like the paradox, to where like maybe that's not a paradox, that's just more so just almost in that falsifiability, to where they're existing in something that's not true or not like real. Like you don't know, you don't know what, you can't tell what it is going to be like when you go back. I think they could be maybe in the frustrated branch because of that, because to them also everybody that they loved is now gone. They kind of take that in stride, like they accept that and they continue on with their duty. They kind of act like a machine, which I feel like could almost be seen as like a negative. Like maybe you're not supposed to be secure in it, I don't know. Or maybe to be secure in it, you have to be like this machine and just accept it. One of the other things that I really liked with the plane section was, someone pointed this out, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it's the use of the song Johnny Come Marching Home, or Dear John, I think, or something like that. Like it's on the bombs, where it's like Hi There and then Dear John, where like Hi There I'm pretty sure is for Hi There is for some anti-military song, and the other one's for like a pro-military song or pro something. And if that is true, I don't know enough information about that to say any regards on it, but pointing it out I feel like that was just a very entertaining video. Like I very like that, and then like that point, if that is true, is so cool, because there's no lyrics, so you don't know which one it is, and it just kind of reshapes like how almost blind the people in the plane are. But another thing that I don't really like about the film is partly, I don't really like Dr. Strangelove. I'm gonna be 100%. I really like one of the interpretations that I do really like about him is that like the reason why he stands up is because he has been so sexually frustrated. Because I think it's interesting to where it's like you view him as like a Nazi, like he just like loves being a Nazi, but he can't anymore, so he's like frustrated. And so when you can pretty much just be a Nazi and just be like a superior race goes down and breeds like rabbits with whatever the best women are, and like that's what causes him to walk, is because he's like explain further on that idea. And so his whole, like, he just stands up. His hand has been fighting, his hand has been getting very excited about it. His hand has hated him beforehand, but now it loves him, kind of like it's like it's so excited. I think that's very interesting. I think that's really funny. I think that's very cool. But I also just don't like, I kind of wish he had a bit more into the movie. I wish, like, I feel like the definitely top characters, at least for me, is the Buck, the President, and then it goes Jack and Mandrake, and then it goes the Rep, Kiss Off, and then Dr. Strangelove. And I wish, like, I feel like he's a very funny character, and like the actor, I forgot his name, he does really well job on like all those characters, and I think he had a lot of fun with Dr. Strangelove, and so I wish maybe they found like more ways for him to implement it and just different parts of the scene. But also I don't know where you would implement it, because everything else is very like almost machine perfect, like it's so good. But yeah, I guess the more so what I don't like about Strangelove is I mean, it's not that I don't like him as a character. I just don't see why people love Dr. Strangelove so much. Like that character, I don't know why. Like he's definitely an interesting and funny character, but I feel like the other characters deserve probably more love because they have so much. I feel like Bach is really funny. I feel like all these are very funny. I think that probably part of the thing with Dr. Strangelove is just that he's like a Nazi and that he's like no longer a Nazi and he's fighting with it. And I think people just kind of think that's also really funny, like dark humor type of thing, which is totally fair. Totally fair. I just personally don't mind him that much. The other thing I don't really like is the ending scene, to where they're all talking about what they're gonna do afterwards. I wish it was more like they like know that the bomb just happened, like they know that they're screwed, but all they can think about is like sex, engaging in this thought instead of trying to save people. They're just fully engaged into almost this selfish desire to be satisfied for them, even though it's sex, which is like I feel like Stanley Kubrick has his own like view on it, which is very interesting. But I just wish they kind of went into that more, to where it's like showing like this like the absurdity of this that they're worried about this in this situation. But it's hard to tell if they actually know or if they're just like talking about like what if it does land, like what can we do. But also it's like you gotta act fast because that backyard bomb is gonna work pretty quick. But the other thing I guess I didn't really like either was the ending of it. Like I guess it was the setting of the last scene and the ending of the last scene. The setting up of the last scene I feel like could have worked more like that, to where you feel like you're more like straight on with your critique of these people and like and the absurdity of it. And then the ending of it, I would like to have transitioned more into everything exploding than just cutting on Dr. Strangelove walking. Because when I watched that, I felt I was very confused, and I actually looked up to make sure, like, did I get the wrong version? Did I miss something? But no, it cuts like that, which is, I feel like if you're gonna do something like that, I feel like having it more of a setup too for that, to where it's like oh my god, that makes so much more sense. But I feel like the scene didn't really have that setup. That's pretty much my only critique. And with the plane people, I feel like they weren't that, for me at least, too engaging or too like interesting, which I think you could have definitely had more, especially with like all the characters. Like I think they're very, very funny. Also, just the plane people, I was just kind of confused on like their whole like purpose in the story besides just delivering the bomb and whatnot. Like what do they say about the situation and all that? I was maybe I was just lost on that because I'm stupid, but which could totally be the case. But overall, my opinion on it is, I think it's a really, really fun movie. I really, really liked it. It wasn't like I was laughing out loud, but I definitely was sitting there like glued to the screen. Like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? Like, what are these goofballs doing with the fate of the world? Like, it's very entertaining. I definitely very, very much liked it. Just how the paradox and everything also just kind of like scratches something in my brain. So I'm very happy to have seen this movie. And if you haven't seen it, definitely watch Dr. Strangelove. It's very funny. I think it's a very good movie to watch right now with how everything's kind of going, to where it reminds you that like, oh yeah, I should be making sure I'm media literate and stuff like that, just to make sure I'm understanding everything. But yeah, bodily fluids are pure. That was a funny line. That was really funny by it. The actor who played Jack the Ripper, oh my gosh, he was so funny. Okay, I should probably pull it here, but yeah, definitely go watch it.